Hello, it's Cassie Wilcox of the Wishing Well OT again here. And today I'm super excited to have a talk with one of my dearest friends. And her name is Lindsay Williamson, and she is the essential oil guru in my life. Lindsay and I are both occupational therapists by training, and we worked together in Madison, Wisconsin at Children's Therapy Network. And we are very good friends, but we also were very good colleagues. And she really taught me almost everything I know about essential oils. Before I met Lindsay, I was using essential oils, but definitely not to the degree that I am now. And I certainly didn't understand the wide breadth of applications and just understanding how it all works. So I'm really excited to have her here today. Lindsay, thank you so much for coming on and talking. And I'm really excited for you to give kind of a basic of what essential oils are so that people can, if they've never heard of it or if they've only been dabbling, they'll have a little bit more information.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. And just a little background on my journey is I started using oils, like 5 years ago now to help with mood stuff, like anxiety. And for me, it started working. And so from there, I wanted to learn more and more. And now I have a new baby and we use them on our whole family and throughout our house. So I'm excited to share a little bit more about how we use them and just some education on the background of them too.
Absolutely. So like I said, we're going to be kind of talking about the basics here. So could you just even share about what are essential oils?
Yeah. So essential oils, when you're buying pure real essential oils, are aromatic volatile compounds that come from a plant. So what that means in a little simpler terms is that it's like the plant's immune system. It's the way to get the strongest version of the plant, and it's extracted from the plant. Depending on the plant, it could be extracted from the leaf, the stem, the root, the bark. It just depends on the plant. And then it is distilled into these bottles where we can use them on our bodies in a very potent way. And the exciting thing about potency is that that means you don't need a lot. And we'll kind of talk about that as we go, like how to safely use them. But that's kind of what they are. They're like the plant's immune system, the strongest part of the plant. And then our bodies can use them in a therapeutic way. So because our bodies are very much water and plants are very much water, and we're all we're all kind of on this planet from nature, the essential oils speak the same language as our body. So when we use an essential oil, it's not like adding hormones or adding other things. It's helping our body systems balance. It's helping us come to a better state of homeostasis. So when we take a medication, those are synthetically derived, and our body has to figure out what to do with that, how to break it down, and it often alters things in sometimes a dramatic way. But it doesn't allow our body to naturally come to this state of balance or homeostasis. So it kind of like pushes our body to be almost like the better version that it wants to be in its truest form.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So then I guess, how do you use these?
So you can open a bottle and just smell it. You can run it through a diffuser, and those are different ways to get it aromatically. You can also like put it on your body or on your clothes and then smell it. So that's the first way, is aromatically. And the reason that's so powerful, sometimes that feels silly, like, is this really doing anything for my body? But the reason that works is of our senses, we have, well, the average person knows we have 5 senses. If you've been around Cassie, you might know more than 5. But our sense of smell is the only one that's directly connected to our brain. So when we take in that smell, those compounds through our olfactory system, they go directly to our limbic system. And our limbic system, deals with emotion, memory, heart rate, blood pressure, all of those things. So that's why if you're working to get like a altered state, like calming or alerting, I really recommend aromatic use, because it's that quick hit to the nervous system. So that's one way. Another way is topically. So applying the oils to your skin. Whatever we put on our skin gets absorbed into our bloodstream. So that gives you a lot to think about. And hopefully it doesn't overwhelm anyone. But like what we put on our skins, what we put on our kids' skin gets absorbed into the bloodstream. So it's really important to think about it. And actually, when I started using oils, I was an OT who worked in aquatics. And like I said, I was using the oils to help with anxiety and it was helping, but I was also like, I'm in chlorine like 10 hours a week. What is this doing to my body? And so that like kind of opened the door for me to like take the next step in taking toxins out of my routine. Now I couldn't avoid the pool, but instead I started looking at detox and are my detox pathways open and how can I kind of get this chlorine out of me? So topical use, I always recommend you dilute your oils. So remember how I said they're really powerful. It benefits you to dilute your oils with a carrier oil. So something like coconut oil or fractionated coconut oil or even olive oil, but any of those like nut and seed oils, jojoba oil, almond oil, those kind of oils can be a carrier oil. When you use the carrier oil, first of all, it makes your oils more affordable because you're not having to like burn through your oils as quickly, but it also helps slow down the absorption rate into your body. So you're getting this like slower, longer effect. And it also decreases the chance of those aromatic compounds evaporating off of your skin and into the air. So when you put them on kids, you really want to dilute. Like I do use some on my baby and I'm literally using 1 drop in a whole roller of fractionated coconut oil. So it's very little is needed. And when you're applying topically, people usually ask like, where do you put it? So feet is always a safe place to go if you're feeling unsure, if you're just starting, if you're trying a new oil. But if you want systemic support, and by systemic, I mean like whole body. So maybe you're working to decrease inflammation, maybe you're working to boost the immune system, nervous system support, going spine is another great place. Spine and bottom of the feet are good general places. If you are working on something localized, like an achy joint, a sore muscle, a bug bite, a blemish, skin, rashy skin, go right to the source. So if I have a sore elbow, I'm going to put it right on my elbow. And then, you know, I talked about when you are using the oils for emotional support, you really want to be able to smell it too. So oils for emotional support, I typically recommend you put on like your perfume points. So like your chest and your neck, maybe behind your ears, your inner wrist, so that you are getting it absorbed into your bloodstream, but also aromatically. And then the last way you can use essential oils, and I say this one with a lot of caution, well, I'll explain it. So is internally, but I don't recommend you take any essential oil internally. You really want to make sure that you're using a high quality therapeutic grade essential oil if you're going to take it internally. People take oils internally sometimes because it's just better for their daily routine. Sometimes it just makes a little bit more sense. Like if you have an upset stomach and you put an oil on your stomach and it's not helping, you still have an upset stomach, maybe you'll try it internally. If you are working on detox, a lot of times it's nice to have like a drop of lemon in your water, things like that. So if you are going to ingest it, you want to make sure, like if you're doing a drop of lemon in a glass of water, you want to make sure you're using glass, stainless steel, or ceramic. Because the oils are so strong, you don't want to put it in plastic because it will eat away at the plastic and then you'll end up consuming more toxins, which defeats our point. So, yeah, so putting it in something safe to drink it. You can also put it in a veggie cap and swallow it. Like if you are working on something like gut or parasite cleansing or things like that, I know a kiddo who's taking oregano in a veggie cap because he can swallow pills. I couldn't as a kid, but if your kid can, it's another way to take it, especially if it's a gross oil. Like you would never, well, some people might, but you would never like really want to drink oregano oil because it's just not tasty. So that is one that I definitely use or tell people to use with caution. I want to make sure that you're using a high quality essential oil if you're going to take it internally. Otherwise, it can be dangerous. And actually, do you want me to kind of explain about?
That's what I felt like, yeah, maybe explain that a little bit more, because I know that that was one thing that I didn't really understand solidly before you kind of taught me more about essential oils, in that like you can have the term therapeutic grade on a bottle and that leads us to believe that that's safe, but you really taught me a lot more about that. So yeah, I'd love for you to speak about that.
Yeah, so just like the beauty industry, the oil industry is not regulated. So like a lot of things that are on the market to put on our skin is not regulated. Same as essential oils. So people can make claims that the oil is pure or therapeutic, and it's not at all. So what ends up happening to cut corners or to make essential oils cheaper is that companies might dilute the oil. Now, they could be diluting it with coconut oil, or they could be diluting it with something more toxic. They could also be synthetically creating the oil. So like a good example is a lot of people have told me that they're allergic to lavender. And that's because they've had an experience with lavender soap or lavender laundry detergent or lavender scented something, and they had a reaction. Well, likely that wasn't an essential oil. That was a synthetic form, and they were having a reaction to something that was synthetic or toxic. So actually peppermint is a good example. I had a nurse friend who told me that, oh, we use essential oils in our hospital, but I'm allergic to peppermint. And I was like, oh, really? That's interesting. I wonder about those oils and if you would be curious in trying smelling my peppermint that I have. And she was like, sure, I'll know right away. Because as soon as I smell peppermint, I like have this reaction and this feeling in my throat. So I handed her my peppermint and she was like, no, nothing. So I was like really excited that our hospital was using essential oils, but even the hospital wasn't using a high enough quality that she was having a reaction to it. So you really have to do a lot of digging to know if you are using a high quality brand. So when I started my oil journey, for the first year, I tried a ton of brands. I wanted to do it as cheap as possible. I wanted to do it my way. And so I was trying all different brands, and I found like some brands, like they all had this similar undertone of a smell, and some just, wasn't sure if they were working for me or what. So the first layer that you want to make sure is happening is third-party testing. You want to make sure the company has had someone outside of the company test that there's nothing added to the essential oils, that they're just pure plants. But what third-party testing doesn't test is if it's the plant that it claims to be. So like lavender, there's a plant called lavandin that's very similar, but doesn't really have therapeutic benefits. It just smells nice like lavender. So third-party testing doesn't look for that. So you want to make sure that there is third-party testing, and then you want to look and see what the company is doing beyond that. And if they're not transparent about that, that's a red flag. So I think you're okay with me disclosing the company that I trust, and it's not to say that there's not other companies out there that are trustworthy. But I ended up landing with doTERRA because of their testing and their sourcing. So that was another important part to me, was I always want to support as best as I can companies that are doing good in the world and that are transparent and open about their process. So doTERRA not only does third-party testing, but they do additional in-house testing. I'm happy to talk more about it, but I'll keep this brief. So they do additional in-house testing to make sure that even the constituents within that essential oil are what they're supposed to be for that plant. And then they source around the globe. So they're not like creating farms to grow their own lavender or lemon trees or whatever. They are going to the regions where those plants natively grow and partnering with farmers there so that we're getting the highest quality plant. It's like the same idea of like, if you were to grow oranges here in Wisconsin in your backyard, you could do it, and you could do it organically. You could do it pure, but it's not going to taste as good or be as juicy or as nutritionally valuable as oranges grown down in the South, where they're supposed to grow, where they're natively grown. So same idea with the oils. You're going to get the strongest version when you're going to like the native region where they are supplied. And then I just like that they're not going in and taking over farms. They're partnering with farmers, they're helping those communities, and they're giving back to those communities as well as getting us an amazing product. So people on each end of the bottle are benefiting, right? Like we're getting this high quality, awesome essential oil, and the farmers on the other end are benefiting. So that is something that rings true in my heart, my value system with my dollar. So did that answer? That was kind of long.
Yeah, no, it really does. And I actually appreciate that you kind of shared specifically what company you use, because over time I only have doTERRA at this point. Even though what I appreciate is that you share and help people understand what it is they need to look for if they do choose to go elsewhere. So before I started using doTERRA so much, there was actually a local Wisconsin company that I really liked using. And to be quite frank, I just chose to, like, I knew that doTERRA already did the batch testing and the proper sourcing and all those things, that I just chose not to do my research to find out, because it's kind of hard. I mean, I remember you saying like you would call companies. And so, yes, I could make that choice. And, but yeah, so I've kind of landed on doTERRA, but also, like you said, that there definitely are other companies out there.
Yeah. And I think like when I started using oils, I was in Minnesota, and there was a local Minnesota company that I liked that was organic. And I just kind of over time was like, I don't think these are providing me with quite the same quality or like the same benefits. Like my body didn't feel like it was getting as much out of it, was my experience. And so I ended up also just kind of being more exclusive with doTERRA because I was seeing these strong benefits.
Absolutely. And I feel like one thing too that I just feel compelled, because I've shared this with families that I've worked with or just people in my regular life, this idea that like you might have an essential oil in front of you, but you feel like you're getting a negative reaction from it. And it could truly be that it's just not the right match. Like, you
could have a true allergy.
Right. But interestingly enough, so my whole entire life, I've had a really sensitive sense of smell, but I haven't had like I've been sensitive, but I don't have like an over response. Like I don't, I'm not bothered by most smells, but I can smell them much more easily. I can localize them much more easily than the average person. And it wasn't until, well, I feel like there was kind of two things that happened somewhat simultaneously. I started using essential oils a lot more, but then I also was really like stripping all like from my beauty cabinet, from, our household cleaners. I was not using things that had fragrance anymore. And I stopped using candles and all that kind of stuff. And it's interesting to me now that when I smell, I can tell when that smell is, or that scent is
fragrance. Yeah,
it's fragrance. It's synthetic is the word I was thinking of. And it's not because I don't like the smell. It's because I actually get a visceral response. Like I actually get like my gut responds as like, ooh, like that almost like touches with a hint of nausea.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me, but not, I don't know if everybody would experience that, but I do think it's really important that we understand that quality matters, because we could be led down a path that tells us, oh, essential oils didn't work for me, or essential oils actually were harmful to me. And that's not an impossibility, but also you have such a strong confound if you're not using truly pure and truly high quality essential oils.
Yeah. And I think that's just a good point to bring up, because I feel like many people have had an experience with essential oils before, and sometimes they're negative, but I always want to be like, what did you try?
Yeah.
Like, where did it come from? Because I mean, really the only negative side effect you can have from a pure oil is if you don't dilute it, you might get some redness on your skin, or you might just not like certain smells, and that's normal. Like you might like you might not like kale and I do. And so you might not like the smell of lemon and I do, everyone's
Yeah,
just bio individual. And so,
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I feel like that is like a lot of information for, people, especially if it's kind of their first round or, early rounds of understanding essential oils. But I wonder if you could just wrap up by giving almost like a quick basic laundry list of the different like applications, like why you would use it. So you've already spoken to digestive issues, supporting detox, but do you want to talk just a little bit more about the different areas that we can support?
Yeah, so we're gonna record another video for you all to talk about like specific oils for specific ailments, but really you can use an oil for anything you're experiencing, which kind of sounds grandiose, but that's what I love about oils is like you can use them from the day you're born to the day you're leaving. And it can help with like really basic physical things like headaches, stomach aches, allergies, earaches, muscle aches, things like that, stomach aches, different, if you're constipated or you have diarrhea, all those things. But it can also help with calming the nervous system, attention, regulation, different moods. Like I said, I started using it for anxiety support. Really great results for people with attention or needing to like focus. Great homework helper type oils are out there. So yeah, really anything that you're like, oh, I wish I had an answer to this, you can turn to an essential oil.
Yeah.
Instead of like in my family, we always just like, oh, go to bed early and drink more water if you like have a headache or whatever. And in other families, they turn to medications, and that's, I'm not anti-medication, but I would much rather turn to a plant or something natural before I try a synthetic version of it. And I didn't say this, but plants or pharmaceutical companies look at essential oils and how they benefit the body and then try to synthetically recreate it. And obviously then they can patent it and make money off of it, but it's not gentle to our body. So yeah, if I have, before, if I had a headache, it was like, oh, drink more water. And now I'm like, oh, just put some peppermint on. If I had a stomach ache, I'd, drink more water. Now I can try something and relieve myself. So, and like, even with my baby, I don't always know why he's crying. A lot of times I do, but I've created a like, oh no, baby roller.
Yeah.
So that if I've tried all the things, changing his diaper, feeding him, napping him, like cuddling him, all those things, and it's still getting the tears, then I put a little frankincense on his feet and just like, it might help. It might calm him. It might help his nervous system, and it might not. But if it doesn't do anything, it didn't do any harm. There's no harm done. It's like, so
Yeah.
that was not brief, but
no, yeah, well, it was brief relative to what it could be. And
yes.
like one that, I mean, you were trying to keep it brief, but one that I particularly like too is just being able to use it in my, like creating my own cleaning products with the use of essential oils. And I've also made lots and lots of, I've made night diaper cream, deodorant, just regular lotion, which was like the lotion that I ended up making when my oldest was a baby and had just open weeping eczema. The homemade lotion that I made that I also put certain essential oils in, like ended up being essentially the only topical application that seemed to calm anything. And luckily we were able to address his gut and address kind of the root factors. But yeah, anyway, so personal care products and household cleaners are like another area that I use essential oils a lot.
That's a really good point to bring up, because our indoor air is often actually more polluted than our outdoor air. And you can even make your own air fresheners and linen sprays and things like that to reduce that toxic exposure that we just never thought of before, that it is toxic,
Exactly.
So I feel like we've talked a lot. Can I just like in summary?
Yes.
Okay. So in summary, essential oils, when you're buying high quality, are safe, effective, and affordable. Like we talked about, you can dilute them down and things like that. And they're a lot more affordable too, in that you have solutions in your house and you might not have to go to the doctor as much. And then there's the 3 ways that you can use them: topically, aromatically, and internally. and internally with caution, like we talked about. And then in our next talk, we'll talk a little bit more about specific oils for kids and how they might help their bodies and their brains as they go through life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will be happy to share like just my experience with my own children, but also my experience with like working with clients and what it's done for them. So thank you so much for taking your time on this. And I hope that, you know, people listening, either maybe you're brand new, you're a complete novice to essential oils, or maybe you've been using essential oils, but hopefully you've brought something from this conversation. So thank you for watching, and thank you, Lindsay, for taking your time.
Yes, thank you for having me.